Yes, online students, I think you can hear me, right? All right. So let's see with the this week's current affairs. Right. If you have any doubts with respect to previous weeks also, or any other current affairs that you might have looked at, if you have any doubts with respect to any understanding, you can ask me. The 5 things that we will look at is, first is the RBI cancelling Paytm payment bank's license. So previously, a year and a half back, they had suspended payments Paytm bank because of various irregularities. Now what they have done is they have cancelled its license altogether. So that is what the news is. With respect to this, we will look at a bit about the Paytm's bank revision also. We will do what they can do, what they cannot do, so on and so forth. Next is RBI's master directions on bad loans. So bad loans, basically with respect to the NPAs, what directives RBI has given. So what things will change, we will look at that as well. Then you have India's ethanol blending program and the path to E100. E100 means 100% ethanol will be used. So presently we have E20. The target to achieve E20 blending was by 2030, but we have achieved it 5 years in advance. Now that move was criticized a bit, so we'll discuss that. And now the path to E100, wherein we will be using only ethanol as the fuel. So is it possible? If it is possible, what are the changes that would be required? Next is CT. This is the trade union. The trade union which has approached ILO, that is International Labour Organization, over the alleged violation of workers' rights. So C2 had been protesting against the new labor laws that have been brought in. Now, not just that, they have reached out to ILO over these allegations of violation of workers' rights. So we'll see that. And the last one is the revenue deficit of the states and the challenge of the fiscal stability. So here we will discuss about the revenue deficits that the states are having. As I mentioned in the class, the golden rule that you should borrow only for investing, capital expenditure and stuff, right? That is the golden rule, but that is not happening. So there are a lot of states who are having revenue deficits. So we'll see that as well. Okay? So first things first, the RBI cancelling Paytm's bank's license. This is the news. Now what is the reason? These are the reasons. Okay? Persistent non-compliance. Persistent non-compliance means, see, 1.5 years back when it was suspended, RBI had asked it to show cause of why the irregularities were there. Now, whenever you have any irregularity in the organization that you own, you have to show a plausible deniability. Plausible deniability means you did all the required checks that were required to be made, but still that irregularity happened. So if you can showcase that all the possible checks were done, still this irregularity happened, then you might be let go scot-free. But if you cannot showcase plausible deniability, then the responsibility, accountability comes onto you. Okay? So the Paytm's payment bank was not able to show plausible deniability of one person having multiple PAN cards and this, that. No plausible deniability was shown. Management practices detrimental to the public interest. The management practices in the sense that with respect to certain decisions, the management has to be involved while taking certain decisions. So at management level, these irregularities were found, which leads to detriment to the public interest. And last, the management practices of payments bank license. So it is related to the top management which showed certain irregularities. The idea is, if one person having multiple PAN cards and not following the law, the top management, without their approval, it cannot happen. When without their approval, it cannot happen, that means there is an allegation that this is also involved. So now you have to showcase that it was not your responsibility. It was your responsibility, but you did all the necessary checks, but still that happened. But after 1.5 years, what the decision has been taken, that no, you were not able to show the plausible deniability, as a result of which your license will be cancelled. Now this action of, now this is important fact for prelims, this action of cancelling the license was done under Banking Regulation Act of 1949. So the question can be, the RBI can cancel the license of a bank under which of the following law? So this is the law under which it can cancel, action taken under Banking Regulation Act. Now about the payments bank, we have seen in our classes also, recommended by Nachiket Moore committee, right? RBI started issuing licensing guidelines in 2014 and it provided the licenses to 11 payments banks. Okay. Now what does it do? It promotes financial inclusion. Why? Because it basically serves the unserved and underserved, or unbanked and underbanked people, right? So these are the target groups: the low income households, the migrant workers, the small businesses. It helps all of them also to take loans. What is this objective? Another objective is provide banking access, as I said, to underserved or unserved sections of the society. Target group is low income group, migrant or small businesses. RBI started issuing guidelines of licensing in 2014 based on Nachiket Moore. I've already told you that's the important facts on which questions can be asked. Now these are the features of the payments bank. So small amount of savings only it can withhold. The limit was 1 lakh. Now it has increased to 2 lakhs, which we have seen, right? Remittance services are also provided under this, right? High volume, low value payments. Yes, this is important. The volume is high, it will reach to a huge number of people. However, the value would be low because it gives very small amount of loans. Also remember, it cannot use the depositor's money to give out as loan because it can take only demand deposit. Term deposits are not allowed as such. So here it is written, can accept savings account, can accept current account as well, but cannot use the depositor's money for giving out loans. Deposit limit 2 lakh per individual, as I have said. Okay, permitted services. So ATM cards it can issue, the debit cards it can issue, mobile banking, internet banking. This you should already know. Take an example of Airtel Paytm's bank. So in the Airtel app, it is possible to take loan directly using the mobile. So mobile banking is allowed, internet banking, it's the same thing. Basically, you can log it onto the portal as well. Then business correspondent services for other banks as well. That means it also acts as an intermediary for other banks. That means if other banks want to reach out to a lot of people and give loans, Payments Paytm bank will say, I will be the intermediary. You give me the money, I will give it to the people as loans and I will pay you back. In middle, I will get some amount of cut from that. So that services also it provides. Restrictions on the payments bank: cannot undertake lending activities. So their lending activities, as in you are using someone else's money and finding the clients and giving them. You are not lending your own money or people's money. So you are not a direct lender. Cannot issue credit card. Cannot provide, this is the same. Okay, this is a repetition. This is the same. Cannot accept non-resident Indian NRI deposits. It cannot accept, which we have seen today, the NRI accounts that are there. So you cannot open that NRI account under payments bank. Yes. So remittances what? You are an NRI residing somewhere else. You are transferring the money to me. You are not opening an account in which you are saving or anything, right? So remittances are allowed, but cannot accept non-resident Indian deposits. So here the money will get deposited. In remittance, it will directly come to the person to you whom you are remitting the money. Cannot establish subsidiaries for non-banking financial service activities. So you cannot have Airtel Payments Bank and another subsidiary out of that. No. If you want that, there needs to be another license of another category which you have to take. Allowed to distribute mutual funds and insurance products. They have allowed this. This is very important. Please. Mutual funds and insurance products are allowed by them. Now, this is regulatory financial requirement. Minimum 75% of the demand deposit must be invested in SLR eligible government securities. Okay? So the idea is they cannot use that money to give loans. So what do they do with that money? They will take that money and invest only in the SLR. Okay? So what are the regulatory controls of payments bank? So online students who have just joined, the regulatory financial requirement for payments bank is that minimum 75% of demand deposit must be invested in SLR eligible government securities. And we already know SLR eligible government security. This is short term basically. So for maturity up to 1 year. Minimum paid up capital requirement 100 crore rupees. What is this minimum paid up capital? See, the bank's overall capital, let's say 1000 crore. We don't know what is the overall capital. But the idea is whenever you are opening a bank, you cannot open a bank by taking the entire money as loan. You have to have your own money invested. So the amount of your own money is generally invested is nothing but the paid up capital, paid up equity capital. That means Airtel is the payments bank. So Airtel's Bharti Mittal or Airtel basically brought its own 100 crore rupees into Airtel Payments Bank. Anything else required, you can take a loan, you can do whatever you want, but 100 crore rupees of your own capital has to be there. Capital adequacy ratio 15% minimum. Governed, now this is governed under Banking Regulation Act, which is simple, yes, because it's a bank. Reserve Bank of India as well as the Companies Act. Okay. This is DICGC cover. Basically, this is Deposit Insurance and Credit Guarantee Corporation. So the payments banks are covered under this insurance. We have seen in our class that NBFCs are not covered under this. NBFCs are not covered, but payments Paytm bank, payments banks are covered. Yes. Now this insurance that is covered, it will be applicable when the bank is liquidating. It got bankrupt, it is liquidating. License cancellation. Now license cancellation is happening, right? So people's money would be covered. Merger or reconstruction. Merger means two or more banks merging together. It is under that same, so you will basically get up to 2 lakhs only. The idea was to say that the scheduled commercial banks are covered under this 5 lakh per depositor. It is also covered under 5 lakh per depositor. But since your deposit is up to 2 lakh, it's the only amount that you will get. So ideally speaking, basically everyone is covered in it. And everyone is covered 100% basically. Okay? Yes, yes guys, online students, any doubts in this? Anything else about the payments bank? Nothing? That is about it? Yes, let's move ahead. Next, RBI's master direction on the bad loans. So bad loans basically related to the non-performing asset. Now this has not yet come into force. It will be effective from 1st of April 2027. Okay. Now the moment you know that this is basis this direction on bad loans, the objectives you can interpret on your own also. You don't have to factually remember it. Right, so you can see the objectives: strengthening the credit risk management, of course, tighten the rules on classification and recovery of bad loans. Why they are tightening, which we will understand in the rules. So what they are doing is, they are now saying, okay, don't tell us, the crux of this article is, don't tell us when the NPAs are formed and then you are telling us that this is the NPA. Tell us the potential NPA also. What is the potential for NPA? How much potential NPA can be formed in the next 1 month, quarter and 1 year? That is what they are asking. So that is going to tighten the rule on the classification on NPA and the recovery. Align Indian banking with the framework with globally accepted standards. So let us see. First is the borrower level NPA. If one loan of a borrower becomes a non-performing asset. So borrower, one loan has become non-performing assets. Now, all loans of that borrower will be classified as an NPA. Is that correct? Now, this changes a lot of things. This changes a lot of things because your NPA provisioning ratio will change. Since this, so if one person has taken 1 crore rupees of loan, plus it has 10 other loans worth 10 crore rupees, there this loan has become NPA. Now you have to classify this also as an NPA. So your gross NPA from 1 crore has increased to 11 crore rupees. Now your NPA provisioning was 10 lakh. 10 lakh upon 100 lakh was 0.1. Now your NPA provisioning goes down. So you have to put in more money for NPA provisioning. So this is very important. All loans of that borrower will be classified as NPA. Applies to borrowers with, of course, multiple loan accounts. It is as simple as that. Okay. The fundamental thing is the same. So the definition is not changing. It will become NPA only if either interest or principal is not paid for 90 or more days, then only it becomes an NPA. But if one becomes, everything else will be NPA. Okay. Now, NPA borrower can be upgraded to standard asset. That means I took a loan and my loan became NPA. Now from NPA, how do I go back to being a standard asset? Standard asset means normal asset which is not an NPA, which is actually performing. So I can become that only after repayment of the entire arrears. Arrears means backlog. Okay? So it should not happen that 3 months I have not paid, 4 months I have not paid, it has become NPA. Now 5th month onwards I am starting to pay. If I am starting to pay, fair enough, I will still be under NPA. I will not be under NPA only when I pay the previous due amount also completely. That is when both interest and principal areas if I pay back, then I will no longer be an NPA holder. Okay? Applies all credit facilities. Okay? Right? Sorry. No, previously it was not like that. See, previously the idea was, the definition stopped where? The definition stopped in the sense that 90 days you have not paid, it is an NPA. Now what happens is 4 months have passed, 120 days, it's an NPA. Now you start paying. Yes. Forget evergreening also. Now I start paying from the 5th month. But my entire previous areas is not clear. I have just paid this month's EMI and I'm going to pay next month, but areas is still there. So what happens is I am back to a standard asset. Why? Because now my payment is regular, right? Even though I have not paid the arrears. Now they have added the criteria of arrears. Only then I will become a standard asset again. Yes. See, you can see this. Partial repayment of only the defaulting loan will not qualify for upgradation. Okay? Mandatory automated identification. RBI has directed banks to implement automated system for NPA identification. Automated as in avoid manual interpretation. Human involvement, human error needs to be avoided. Link it with certain objective things so that it automatically declares it as an NPA. So this is nothing but the definition. What is the objective? Objective ensures accuracy, prevents human intervention. So evergreening of loan and all will be avoided. Okay? Older manual tagging systems to be phased out. Okay. Older manually tagging system is going to be phased out. Next is the expected credit loss framework. So now after becoming the NPA, don't tell us, you have to estimate how much loss you will incur because of this NPA. So RBI replacing incurred loss. Previously it was the incurred loss, the loss you are incurring. This method is will be replaced by expected credit loss framework. Okay, what is the expected loss? So something which is not an NPA but is expected to be an NPA will be included in this. Okay? So provides for losses before the loan turns into NPA. This is clear. ECL based on 3 stages. Okay? No or low credit risk, significant increase in the credit risk, or credit impaired. So basically credit impaired means credit is not being given, 1 month has passed, highly likely it will become an NPA. Significant increase in the credit risk, the person has lost their job or something like that has happened. How do the bank get to know that the person has lost their job? They have their PAN card details and everything, so of a salary account. So they would be knowing whether the money has been deposited over here or not. No or low credit risk. If there is no or low credit risk, of course, the expectation would be less. It will not necessarily become an NPA. Now, requires banks to make early provisioning for potential losses. Yes, of course. It will help the banks to make early provisioning for the anticipated losses. Next is the RBI mandates the use of effective interest rate. This is important, effective interest rate. Now, what is this effective interest rate concept? See, the idea is if my loan has a 10% interest rate, right, and I have taken a 10 lakh worth of loan, so 10% is the interest rate. That means in 1 year I have to repay 11 lakhs. So let's say it's for 10 months. So every month around 10,000 rupees extra I am paying. Right, so I will pay 1.1 lakh every month. Now what happens is, if I don't pay this, so the banks, what is the hit on the bank? 1 lakh plus the 10% interest rate, right? If next month also I don't pay, 1 lakh plus 10%, but the previous 1.1 lakh that I did not pay, that 10% is going to have a compounding effect, right? So you have to take, so for 6 months I am not paying, so the very first 10% that I did not pay has lasted for 6 months. So you have to keep on compounding it every single month in order to reach to an effective interest rate. Then the bank will say, I have a total loss of that 11.5 or 11.6%. Why this is extra? Because that money which would have come to you has been compounded. You would have given that money somewhere else which would have earned profit. So don't settle over here. Come up with the effective interest rate, right, which will be used for calculation of expected loss. So your loss, if let's say you have given 1 lakh and 1.1 lakh should have come back, your loss is not this. You could have used this and got more during that time period. So what is your loss? You include this also to get your effective loss. Okay? So this will replace the contractual interest rate. Contractual interest rate, that means the rate of interest on your loan, that will be replaced by effective interest rate. Okay? It is based on the expected cash flow, the contractual terms, and the expected cash flow. Contractual terms means that percentage that you are being charged, and cash flow means how much money the bank is giving loans. This is important. Understand why. Every time I cannot say this has cost me 1.2 lakhs. Why? Because there is a possibility that my cash outflow is not that much. People are not taking loans only from me. So how can I say that I would have made this money? So you will also have to look at the cash outflow of the bank. Is the bank actually doing business? Yes, then this is a loss. Okay? Sure. Yes. The period of 90 days is there for it to convert to NPA. Now it has converted into NPA. Now for it to go back to standard asset, every areas also have to be paid, or else it will remain an NPA. And since it will remain an NPA, effective interest rate will be calculated. Okay? Not the contractual interest rate loss. Okay? Next is the non-performing assets. This we know. Any loan on which interest or principal has not been paid for more than 90 days of the due is that. Then types of NPAs: gross NPA, the total value of defaulted loan; net NPA, actual burden after deducting the bank provisions that has been made. Okay? Yes, online students, is there any doubt? Please ask me. Next, India's ethanol blending program and the path to E100. So why this is in news? Because our Ministry of Roads, Transport and Highways, I think Mr. Nitin Gadkari, he has basically advocated a lot of things. This is one of them, advocating that we will be using E100 fuel. We will move towards E100 fuel. E100 fuel, simply remember, it is going to be 100% ethanol. What is ethanol? C2H5? C2H5OH. Ethanol is basically ethyl alcohol. And so this is just for maybe your science and tech thing also. There are a lot of types of alcohols. So one is methanol, right? It is also known as methyl alcohol. Then you have ethanol, that is known as ethyl alcohol. Methanol, CH3OH. Ethanol, C2H5OH. Okay? And then there are various other alcohols. In the liquor that people drink, ethanol is, component of ethanol is there. Why don't you add methanol? Because it is poisonous, people will die. Okay? Very good. Martin knows about it. Good. Okay? So objective is what? Achieve energy self-reliance. Atmanirbhar Bharat. So Atmanirbharta in the energy sector also. We will not have to import the crude oil and all those things. Is basically what? Reduce the dependence on the imported crude oil and protect India from global oil shock and so on and so forth. Now this is the entire process of ethanol. formation of ethanol. Crop, it can be sugar, sorghum, it can also be molasses. You can directly make ethanol from sugarcane, or when sugarcane is used in sugar industries, the byproduct is molasses. That molasses can also be used to convert it into ethanol. Then what you do is fermentation. In fermentation, like we do the fermentation of the dosa batter, the rice fermentation will take place. Once fermentation takes place, it has a lot of things in it, so you purify it. Purification, removing what is required and extracting what is not required. So from that purification, what you will get is basically ethanol, ethyl alcohol. Then you anyway, forget that. So then using that ethanol, you blend it with petrol. So this is the ethanol over here, this is the petrol blending that we do. Okay? And then of course transportation, this is E10 means 10% goes to petrol station and is used by us. This is the entire process. E10 means 10%. Now the latest bikes that are coming, which are basically safe for using, or let's say able to use E20 petrol, they will have E20 written on their tanks. That means it is safe, it is made for using petrol 20% blended with ethanol. This is going towards, which is a future plan, not in now. So presently E20 is in place. We are wanting to move towards ethanol E100, wherein there will be no blending. Directly this ethanol comes, it goes over here. Okay? Ethanol and ethanol blending. Okay? Now this, as I mentioned, this is ethyl alcohol. It's a biofuel, because from biodegradable, either the biodegradable waste or the organic things that are there, from it can be converted into fuel. Now ethanol production, there are various types of ethanol. So you have 1G ethanol, the first generation ethanol. So here you will understand that the first generation of ethanol would be, you can say, less efficient or not the desirable one. Why? Because it actually uses what? Cereals, sugarcane juices. So this is basically what? Your food product, right? You would not want to use that, right? Then what you would want to use? The second generation, which is rice straw, wheat straw, agricultural residue, etc. But then the third generation, wherein algae, which is, you can grow and also you can use it, which is not edible, not required as such. However, we need to understand algae is also would be required in the aquatic ecosystem, but you can artificially produce the algae, which is not as such required, so that it does not impact the food production or the food crops. Okay? That is the third generation ethanol. Now, India, ethanol is mainly produced from sugarcane, molasses, maize surplus. Sugarcane and molasses is the highest basically. Okay? Types of ethanol, I have told. Ethanol blending, nothing but mixing ethanol with petrol. E10, E20, E100. E10 means basically 10% ethanol is there. That is E10, 90% is petrol. And it is compatible with most of the vehicles that is existing. For E20, it requires specific compatibility. And when E100 is there, you would require flex fuel vehicles. Flex fuel vehicles means vehicles which are flexible with respect to the fuel that it can use. Okay? So here what happens, the issue, I'll tell you the issue. What is the issue? The issue is it may lead to rusting of the engine, rusting of the tank, right? Since it will lead to rusting, that is why you will require corrosion resistant components, right, which will increase the price. Then modified engines and advanced sensors also. The idea is the price is going to go up if you use 100% ethanol. Okay? But the benefit is less pollution, right? Efficiency, will come to that. Benefit is less pollution and the cost will be lower. The issue is efficiency or mileage, etc. can come down. So you may have a decrease in around 5%, 5 to 10% of mileage. So if your bike is giving 50 kilometers per liter, it will give 40 kilometers per liter. So that is an increased cost. Okay. Ethanol blended program, our ethanol blended petrol program, It operates under National Biofuel Policy. Remember a fact for your prelims. Implemented by Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Gas. Objective: reduce crude oil import, which we have already seen, reduce our dependencies, and they also talk about it will increase the farmers' income, right? India achieve E20 blending target in 2025. As I have mentioned, our target was 2030. Okay. This is the impact. By doing that, we have saved around 1.4 lakh crore rupees worth of foreign exchange since 2014. So in the last 12 years, this is what we have saved. That means on an average 22,000 crore rupees per annum is what we have saved in foreign exchange. Now remember, this is the savings in foreign exchange, not the savings in the total use of petrol or diesel, petrol or blended ethanol. Because this is the foreign exchange we don't require to pay. Why? Because domestically we are generating. Domestically you might be required to pay 1 lakh crore rupees or something. So the total savings would be less. This is the foreign exchange that we have saved. Okay? Reduce dependence on crude oil, okay, but still we are very highly dependent. It has reduced. Ethanol procurement till 2025 generated around 1.18 lakh crore for farmers. This much has been paid to the farmers. Rupees 1.96 lakh crore for the distilleries. The distilleries has been paid this much. That means almost double than that of the farmers. Okay? The government comes up with a lot of words. So from annadatas to urja datas. Anna means food grains. So from provider of the food and food grains to the provider of urja. Urja means energy. So provider of the energy. And I would not say they move from annadata to urja datas. Basically they are annadatas also and they are urja datas also now. Okay? Anyway. Climate action and from waste to wealth. This is important. Basically, since it will be less polluting, it will help us in our goal of net zero target by 2070. Right? Ensure, this is important. This is something science and tech related. I'll tell you what happens is, it ensures complete combustion. How it ensures complete combustion is because of this. Yeah, this is, where is it? Yes. This is the structural formula. This is the molecular formula C2H5OH. It is written in a structure form. Basically, how we get this is carbon has 4 valency, means it's a 4 negative charge is what it has. So on 3 sides it combines with H. On one side it combines with another carbon. So it also has 4 vacancy, 1, 2, 3 and 4. So it also combines with one H. C is combined here, H is combined here. Then it combines with an O over here. O has 2 valency. One is this, the other it has H. Now you can see in ethanol, oxygen is there. When oxygen is needed for complete combustion, if you burn anything in absence of oxygen, it will lead to incomplete combustion, right? If the combustion is incomplete, energy release will be incomplete, utilization will be incomplete, efficiency will be incomplete. Now this fuel itself is having oxygen component, so of course oxygen to some extent will be there, but this fuel itself has oxygen component which will help it to combust completely. So there will be no issue of residues, there will be no issue of incomplete combustion. So it will utilize whatever energy it has. So that is what, it will give the efficiency, it will lead to complete combustion. Less efficiency than petrol is because with respect to the mileage. Here this efficiency is different, that efficiency is different, right? You and I are doing arm wrestling, right? You might be able to apply only 80% of your strength. I am able to apply 100% of your strength. After that I may still not win. But efficiency here is what? Was I able to apply 100% of my strength? Yes. So the issue is, the good thing is, did this entire ethanol molecule burnt? Yes, it did. After burning, it is leading less amount of energy it is releasing. That is a different thing altogether. Because petrol will be a longer chain, right? Sure. This is their help promote circular economy. Circular economy is what? You have a waste, reuse it, recycle it, reuse it. Okay? Next, C2, basically the Center of Indian Trade Unions petitioned the ILO, International Labour Organization. Why? Alleging violation of workers' fundamental rights. By whom? By the Union government and the Uttar Pradesh government. Why Uttar Pradesh government is also involved? See, the laws have come and implementation is also happening in all the states, of course, but the states are also making leeways in certain things, but Uttar Pradesh government is basically implementing it as it is completely without any leeways or any let's say certain powers that the state government is having, nothing doing, as it is being implemented. So they have put an allegation on union government and Uttar Pradesh. Complaints related to Noida and Greater Noida, the issue that happened recently wherein people were protesting. Okay. Complaint filed before ILO's Committee on Freedom of Association. What is the allegation? Grave, widespread and systematic violations. Okay. These things you can write it in your means. For prelims is not that much important. Now the rights that has been violated, what is that? Freedom of association. What is this freedom of association? Basically freedom to form unions. It has been basically taken away. Okay. Why it has been taken away? See, you can have multiple trade unions also, right? But now that is not the case. If you have 1,000 employees, right, there will be a possibility that one of the union has been formed which has 510, the other has 490. They have some demand, they have some demand. Company will not consider both the demands. Company will automatically consider this as the trade union, nothing doing. Now, why is this an issue? This is an issue because if, let's say, for example, 400 people and 600. So 600 people have formed a trade union and want something. It will lead to horse trading kind of a situation. What is horse trading? Basically buying the other MLAs, MPs, right? So what they will do is, these 400 people are okay with it. They don't have a problem. So you form a group and try to attract 110 people over here, right? So 490 people will remain over here. 110 problematic people, you will resolve their issues and you will tell them, I will give you, but then don't tell others, then don't join them. You come with me, I will provide. So you are basically breaking the union, breaking the protest, right? And on paper, what will happen? 110 people only you have given the benefit or something, plus this 400 who were silent anyhow. On paper, this has formed a trade union. And only this will now be considered as a union of the employees because this is the majority, that will not be considered. So what happens? The freedom to form union, the right has been taken away, the right to organize has been taken away, collective bargaining power is taken away because of this. Also, why right to organize also? If the matter is sub judice, you cannot basically protest. If you have to protest, you have to give 60 days of notice to protest. And if the matter is sub judice, you cannot protest. If the judgment is given, cooling period of 60 days, you cannot protest. So basically, the right to protest is as good as gone. Imagine that the faculties over here want to protest and they have to give 60 days of notice to protest. What will the institute do in 60 days? Replace all of us, right? That is the whole point of it. So that is why they are criticizing, or in fact not just criticizing, they have reached out to the International Labour Organization to try to put international pressure on that. Yes guys, any doubts so far? Please ask me. Yes. Alleged coercive measures, CTU alleges mass. This is also with respect to the Noida protest that happened, wherein mass arrests were there, use of force were there. They were using force when the people were protesting. Criminalization of the peaceful labor protest. After arrest, criminal charges were put on them. Okay? Incidents linked to the worker mobilization which took place in April 2026, which is a recent protest that took place. What is the demand by C2? Independent judicial inquiry into the police excesses. So police is generally under the control of the state, but in the union territories, the national capital region that we have, Delhi NCR region, it will be under the central government. Okay? Withdrawal of the criminal cases against the protesters. Okay? Restoration of collective bargaining mechanism. So they also want changes. First they want independent inquiry, then withdraw the case and also change what you have brought in is what they want. Okay? It's quite difficult, but let's see. Economic triggers behind the protest. Why this protest took place? Because they were not given increment in the salaries, the bonuses that were promised were not given to them. So you can see that protest driven by stagnant real wages, rising cost of living, concerns regarding the labor code. Labor code was one of the reasons. They were not given increments as well, and the promises that were made were not kept by the company. Okay. See, independent inquiry should be made, and if their company is actually making good amount of profit, then the demand should be heard and given. Anyway, they have claimed minimum wages in Uttar Pradesh are below the subsistence levels. Okay. Anyhow, yes, they are there. Now, petition urged India to comply with ILO Convention 98. Right, ILO Convention 98. What is this convention? Lays down principles for collective bargaining. So this becomes important. ILO Convention 98 is related to collective bargaining. Collective bargaining means form the union and bargain collectively. Objective is to ensure effective negotiation between the worker, employers and the society. Very important, because a single employee, what will they do? They can't do anything. 1,000 employees are there. One employee goes, you will fire them. But when you collectively negotiate, that is when the people will listen to you. Okay? So ILO 98 gives you that power. ILO Declaration and Fundamental Principles and Right to Work. So this adopted in 1998, amended in 2022, represents global commitment by governments, employers and workers. Okay? Important thing is ILO number 98. Applicable to all ILO member states. India is a member of Indian Labour Organization. Okay? So applies regardless of ratification status. This is the difference. You have become a member, but you might have not ratified that ILO convention. But you are an ILO member, it applies to you. Whether you have ratified that ILO convention or not. What is this ratification? See, whenever this ILO, let's say ILO 98 has come, India is a member of ILO. Now ILO has come up with 98 convention number 98. Some of the countries would have voted in favor, voted against, right? Now when you vote in favor, majority of you vote in favor, so this comes into force. When this comes into force, you have to ratify it. Ratifying means you bring this ILO convention 98, put it to vote in your own country's parliament and pass it. Right, but if a country's government may not have that intention, they may not bring it and pass it. That means a country can be a member of ILO, right, but not have ratified some of its conventions. Okay? So when you ratify it, okay, boss, this is ILO convention, this is what it says, I am going to ratify it, putting it to vote, people agreeing, now I am going to implement it. That means no measure has been taken to implement it also, because you have not ratified also. But ILO convention is applicable to all the members, whether you have ratified or not, it is still applicable on you. No, all the ILO conventions. Yes. It is a generic thing of ILO, including the 98. Okay? Yes. Next is the, so I think that one is over. One thing is there in ILO, all this ILO organizations that you see, all this are coming because of what? The most influential thinker in the world is probably Karl Marx. So if workers are getting a lot of things in return, is because of the Communist Manifesto that might be there. Worker of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but change. That is what? It is nothing but the practical implementation of the quote, workers of the world unite, you have nothing to lose but change, is not what? ILO, International Labour Organization. Okay, chaliye, next, revenue deficit states and challenges of fiscal stability. So basically, Ministry of Finance's monthly economic review, it highlighted concerns regarding the revenue deficit of the states. Other things are also there, rising debt burdens, fiscal stress, but this is also important. Now, because of this, states may face limited flexibility during economic shocks. If you are already in deficit, and there is an economic shock or any other shock, you may not be able to spend more. Expansionary policy will become difficult. Why? Because fiscal space will not be there, right? Risk of violating the golden rule, which I have already said. Golden rule means take money loan only to invest or do capital expenditure. That would be broken. Right. So this union government's fiscal outlook. Okay. Yes. So what it says that we have to have a very cautious fiscal path. That means we cannot be carefree much. Why they are saying this? Conservative tax buoyancy assumption. Our tax buoyancy is 0.8%. That means what? If GDP is growing by 10%, the tax collection is growing by 8%. Okay? That is tax buoyancy. Tax buoyancy is the change in the tax collection per unit change in the GDP. So it is 0.8. Okay? Important thing is yes. So out of the 18 large states, 9 states are in revenue deficit. So you'll see some big names also. The richest state of the country, Maharashtra, revenue deficit. Karnataka, also a rich state of the country, 0.7 deficit. Andhra Pradesh, Kerala, Himachal Pradesh being the highest, then Punjab, then Kerala, they are top 3. Then you have Rajasthan, Haryana, Karnataka, Maharashtra and Chhattisgarh. So these names you can probably remember, so that at least by looking at option you should know, okay, these are the states that have revenue deficit as such. Okay? Now, fiscal stress and debt concerns. High debt servicing reduces the flexibility, of course. If you are servicing a high amount of debt, your flexibility to spend money reduces. Punjab faces highest stress. 22.8% of revenue receipts spent on interest payment alone. So it has huge burden of the previous loans as well. Aggregate liabilities, these many too much of percentage, don't remember. 35 to 45% of GSDP. Aggregate liability. Aggregate liability means the total loan that you have to pay back is equal to 35 to 45% of GSDP. What is this? The debt to the state GDP ratio. This is basically the debt to the state GDP ratio. So we have debt to the state GDP ratio is this. Himachal Pradesh is highest. Are they same? No, Himachal Pradesh is the highest. No, that's different. This is revenue deficit. Yes. Okay. Fiscal deficit concerns. So interestingly, with respect to fiscal deficits, the state are growing better than the center. Still a concern. 13 states budgeted fiscal deficit at 3% of GSDP or above. Union government is already at 4.8, right? Anyway, the issue is the state has limited market to borrow money and do capital expenditure and generate revenues. Union government has much higher capacity. So it is okay for union government to have that. Union government fiscal target 4.3, which is there. However, at the same time, we have the growth concerns. What is the growth concern? Initially, this is what we had targeted. Now, if we look, it is 6.8 to 7.2%. In fact, the IMF projections and all are quite low for us. Okay? So this is the problem that we are facing. This is more of an analytical article. Okay? Strategies to strengthen the fiscal outlook. Now, how can you strengthen fiscal outlook? Aggressive energy policy. Aggressive energy policy as in energy production can be high. We are selling our energy as well, which generates a lot of money for us. Protect the capital expenditure in green hydrogen, semiconductors. Now, green hydrogen is also going to provide us energy. So when it's going to provide us energy, imports and all that will be reduced. Monetary fiscal coordination with the RBI. To lower the fiscal deficit, monetary coordination is necessary. Maintain stable exchange rate. This is fine. Again, this will be done by the RBI to maintain the stable exchange rate, which will help us our external commercial borrowings. Strategies for the state. States can diversify its revenue sources. Easier said than done because they have limited revenue sources anyhow. Increase digitization of tax collection. This will lead to ease of tax collection, lowering in the money required to collect the tax. Efficiency will increase, more money will be there with you. Promote electric vehicles and solar power, ठीक है, this will help our renewable energy sector. Adhere to FRBM Act targets, which I have told, right, that's 3.5% of the GDP. Focus on productive borrowing. Productive borrowing means borrow for creating more asset and for capital expenditure. Improve administrative efficiency to access performance based grants. Okay, so this is the things that can be done. Yes guys, any questions that come to your mind? Nothing? So let's try to solve these questions. Question: with reference to Payments Bank in India, consider the following statements. Statement 1. Payments Bank can undertake lending activities to small borrowers. Yes? Payments Bank can undertake lending activities to small borrowers. Do they do lending activity? They don't do lending activity. They act as an intermediate. I am a payments bank, you are another bank, you are an investor, you have money, I will take your money and I will lend your money to someone else. Payments bank are actually aggregators. Okay? So I don't act as a lender, I act as an aggregator actually. I am an aggregator. Okay? Uber, Ola is helping us get the taxi. They are not taxi drivers, they are aggregators. So remember that. So 1 will be incorrect here. They are required to invest a minimum portfolio portion of deposits with the government securities. That is correct. So 1 is wrong, 2 is correct. So A is the answer. 3 will also be correct. They can issue debit cards but not the credit cards. Under RBI's new master directions on bad loans, a borrower's account can be upgraded from NPA status only when the borrower repays at least 50%. No. Defaulting loan account alone is regularized. No. Entire areas across all credit facilities are cleared. Which of the following is included among the core labor standards of the International Labour Organization? Universal minimum age, right to compulsory overtime compensation, elimination of discrimination in employment and occupation, guaranteed pension of all workers. This, it was not present I think in the article, but this elimination of discrimination in employment and occupation is one of the core labor standard of ILO. Okay? The golden rule of fiscal financing discussed in the context of state finances implies that government should ideally borrow only for asset creation and capital expenditure. And last, yes, I think we know this, pure ethanol used as fuel. That is what E100 is. Yes. Any questions? No? Alright guys, so that's about it. Please read the reader which you would have been provided. Okay? Thank you.
Lending activities to small borrowers. It's an aggregate.
Okay. Okay. I'll explain that. See,